All right, welcome guys. Tonight's All Things REI Windsor re-up. Actually, this is episode number 16, Jeremy. So this is we're getting up there. We're almost at 20. So I'm pretty happy about that. How you been?
Good, good. Just it's been a busy month, I can tell you that. The stats, though, I don't think they're going to be as telling of that, but personally, I'm excited to keep busy
hmm
in this interesting time. How about yourself? How's everything going with you?
I'm doing well. You know that flip that's been a thorn in my side. We
The
we
East Windsor
East
flip,
Windsor
yeah,
flip near Riverside. It's a beautiful property.
great
We
street.
it's in a great street too. We had a conditional offer and we accepted it. So we had the inspection today. It sounds like it went well. Fingers crossed that it continues to close. But yeah, that's a nice little update for this beginning of the year for sure.
That was an interesting project too, because that was actually a duplex that you turn back into a single family residence. Normally, it's the other way around.
Yeah. We deconverted it, but there was many reasons for that, right? It's like it's in Riverside. It's like a small
The
street. It's a
neighborhood.
very nice, like family oriented neighborhood, uh, and tight knit community there. Not to mention, there's no street parking, so you'd have only a one car spot driveway. It didn't really make sense for that area, and we thought the best return on value would be to turn that around. So, yeah, that's what we did. But
Awesome.
now it's time to do more deals here in Windsor and kind of build those roots, like we keep saying. But I know you feel the exact same way because heck, you just did some walkthroughs. You're talking about more about Ford City. You got some things you're
We had
looking
a,
at in the pipeline as well, and your
for
projects are
anyone
currently on the
that's
go.
tuning in here that did not see was it Tuesday? Was it Tuesday?
Yeah, that was a banger with Mike DeFazio.
Two great, it was a great podcast. That was podcast number two of the All Things REI podcast. Straightforward name there. And Mike was talking about him as an entrepreneur, him personally, and then the fact that he is probably the largest holder of Ford City properties in the area there. And it was a really good conversation on how he got started. He wasn't, and he doesn't feel himself as a real estate investor, but as someone that picked up one property for himself, for both personally and basically for his job, because he was a woodworker,
hmm
and then continually as part of the neighborhood, he was talked to more and more people that just kept on offering him properties in the area.
Yeah,
It's a very interesting story. So if you haven't
he.
seen that, tuned in. That was on Tuesday,
mhm.
and we have that live on our Facebook group as well as YouTube.
YouTube, yeah. So go over there, like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna be one of those guys asking you for your subscription, but we won't let you down. Oh man,
What do we
and
have on the
w-
schedule for today?
on the docket, well, I guess today's gonna be a little shorter. I know sometimes we make these go a little longer, but for good reason. We don't have as many articles to talk about because we kind of split it up this time. So we really want to focus in on though two specific articles today, and this is again directly related to the Windsor Essex County area because um, both Windsor and actually Amherstburg they just updated their budgets. So or at least their
Lovely.
proposals, yeah. And we're gonna have to see if it gets approved and voted in. But check this out. So I'm gonna share my screen here with everyone,
Okay.
and then we can kind of get into it. Let's go here. So this look at that headline. Windsor looks at
Windsor,
staggering fees. It's like oh
wow.
boy, a little bit of doom and gloom right off the gate here. But Jeremy, can you tell us about this a little bit? Like what's going on with this
All
housing
right.
development?
So as we progress with these podcasts or these Windsor re-ups, we've been using ChatGPT to really keep us on track and keep us going over the notes pretty well. So thankfully for ChatGPT here, it'll be able to help me and you break down the news for you guys. So the city of Windsor is considering significant increases in development charges, which has raised concern among local builders and developers, obviously for certain reasons, is if these things keep going up, they're not going to take, they don't want to take the hit on it. They will, and what's going to happen is just like any other store or business, they're going to pass on those fees to the consumer,
Yeah.
which is the buyers, right? Whether or not it's an investor or whether or not it's a basically a first-time home buyer or just an end user in general, right? But this also affects us as investors because more and more of us now are starting to look at building and doing multifamily development. And this is something that we have to start thinking about when going into that route because some people just purchase land. They go, okay, I'll build this fourplex, but if it's going to cost you six figures per unit to build now, does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And let's figure out what we want to do here. So we're going to talk about the who, where, when, and why. So the who is the Windsor City of Windsor's administration is proposing the fee hikes with local builders and developers expressing apprehensive. The what being the proposed increases would substantially raise development charges for new residential and non-residential construction. For example, in the Sandwich South area, which is I believe South Windsor,
Mm-hmm.
fees for semi-detached and row housing could rise from approximately $24,000 to over $50,000 per unit. For industrial developments, charges could increase from around 108,000 to 8.3 million. Where's this number here?
I think 80.3 million is I read on a different article the total tax that's going to be collected if this goes through
Oh,
because
so it'd be going so that
previous years they made around 4 million or so in development taxes.
yeah. So basically, right here, in 2023, Windsor collected, my apologies here, $4.9 million in development charges, while through the first 11 months of 2024, that total increased to $8.3 million, which is crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for Sandwich Cells, we'll go back to the semis there. It would rise up to $66,897, up 149%. And apartments would increase to $58,312, up 163%. That's crazy
This is
numbers.
nuts. It is nuts. You
So,
see that? It's like everything increased over essentially around 150% increase on everything just across the board.
yeah,
Yeah.
single family houses, um, and well, asides, the development charge would hike proposed city lots. Could see semi-row townhomes increase from 43,734 up 155%, while multi-residential apartments would increase from the 138,120 up 170%.
Mm-hmm.
Developers pay for installation of these new infrastructure within their projects, such as roads, sewers, sidewalks, stormwater controls, parks, landscaping, and sidewalks. Again, this is from the Windsor Star article. So whoever did this one
Mm-hmm.
mentioned sidewalks a few times. Um, but going on from there, the one is the proposal is currently under consideration with discussions ongoing. If approved, these new fees would be implemented following the council's
Yeah.
decision. Fee hikes would apply to various areas of City of Windsor, including Sandwich South. There is particular areas like the downtown core. And then I was talking with my BIA director, the head of the BIA for Ford City there. He mentioned that with that CIP, there is potential for um, basically waive development fees as well, in addition to tax freezes, which is really, really great.
Can you remind people what
So we,
CIP means for some of the viewers who might look or be listening in?
yeah, community improvement program, right? I believe that's what it stands
Yep.
for there. And then obviously there's different CIPs for different areas. I have myself in the Ford City area, but each kind of district has their own. Like there's the Wyandotte, which you're thinking now, the Wyandotte Town Center, the Walkerville, like one is called the Walkerville BIA, I believe. And then you have the Paulette area, which is Paulette Village.
Mm-hmm.
So a bunch of different areas have different names, and then depending on their location and their growth or basically how it is right now, it depends on what opportunities there are. For example, Walkerville is doing pretty good, so they're not going to offer as much. But for areas like Ford City right now, who they're trying to really push for development and really push for updates, they're
Yep.
going to probably offer you a bit more with both residential programs and then on top of that, commercial which if I had a bigger store, I would have probably did more because they would have covered my heating and cooling. They would have covered like windows and doors.
Really?
They
Wow,
would have
that
covered,
much, eh?
yeah, front fascias. Yeah. Like I
And
believe when I was looking at my project that I was going to do in the Palette Village, they would have only covered like signage and then some siding. So there's a lot
wow.
more with the Four City one for sure.
Yeah, no, that's nice to have those incentives, but I guess going
Yep.
back to this, what I
Yep.
see is just this stifling growth, you know? Like I don't know about you, but it seems that it just goes counterintuitive to everything that you think is required for the city to expand and grow and to provide housing. I
Yep.
think playing devil's advocate, though, I think what Trudeau's in the city is trying to do here is to kind of catch up on some infrastructure
Hmm.
because we have heard in the past, and one reason why we had some issues with accepting government grants was because our sewer infrastructure specifically had issues and was a little delayed. And then also, um, I think something with our grid as well. So this, I think they said in the article, and maybe ChatGPT says this too. They're trying to make up for uh, that infrastructure, and they only increased this previously in 2021, I believe. So
They
every
messed up.
five
They
years
took
they
too long to
increase.
do it, and now we're all suffering because of it.
Yes,
Makes sense.
yeah,
So here's some additional points of information that ChatGPT decided to bring up. And once again, apologies for the earlier mix up on that. But impact on a housing affordability. Builders warn that substantial increases could lead to higher home prices, exacerbating housing affordability issues in Windsor. And
there it
this is a
is.
big thing too, because for example, if it doesn't make sense for the builders to build, they're not going to build. So
Hmm.
if house prices, like obviously they have their stuff currently built, but if it doesn't make sense anymore for them to do it, and they know that buyers are not going to play ball and they're going to want to negotiate cheaper price points, and it doesn't make any sense, they're going to stop building. And that's what happened to us
Yep,
back during the when we had the recession, right? We
ground
stopped
right down
building
to a
for a
halt.
bit.
Yeah,
So, and we didn't start picking up for probably till 2016, I think. And that was a slow, and and the city says that, hey, we're on track to hit all of our housing goals, which is great. But the key word is we're on track. And how does that play out when we have um, builders that may stop building
great
or they may,
point.
yeah,
What's on track
that,
is already the buildings that have been already started or just
yep.
been initiated. So maybe we'll see 2026 be fine too, but then 2027, nothing new popping up because of this. Kind of similar to what we might see in Toronto, where just the last condos have been already started, but nothing new coming up.
But what happens with those developments? Because
Yeah.
it comes down to the fact of some developers would rather just take the hit on having the plans ready
Yep.
than actually having to break ground, right? Because a lot of
Exactly.
builders are going to wait until they have some amount sold for them to even start breaking ground.
Hmm. That's
So
yeah.
another couple of things are economic concerns. Sorry about that, but
Go
there is
ahead.
fear that the proposed hikes could deter new construction projects, potentially affecting local employment in the construction sector and slowing economic growth. There's a comparative analysis. Critics are suggesting that these increases could make Windsor less competitive in attracting new residents and developers,
Hmm.
compared to neighboring municipalities with lower development charges. And this is another
That
thing
makes
too.
sense.
Like they're trying to build like I think this will kind of play into our next article as well. But I mean, if our house prices keep having to keep going up, where maybe areas like Tecumseh or um,
Even Essex, maybe
Lakeshore,
just pushing out.
Essex, yeah. Or
Yep.
even like, for example, people moving to the area from the Toronto region, they might consider London. Like we can't, we we're not as big of a city as like London,
Hmm.
so we need to make sure our house prices reflect that. The council's perspective on it is that the city officials maintain that the fee increases are a responsible fiscal measure to ensure that the costs of new infrastructure are not fairly borne by the existing taxpayers. So they don't want us investing, which is fair. I mean, that does make sense to a certain degree, but we have a lot of people crying that we don't have enough properties,
Yep.
that we don't have enough infrastructure, that we don't have enough, nice spots to go to. So without these housing demand increases, um, it's going to hurt us. And then future developments, the divi this The decision may influence future city planning and development strategies as stakeholders assess the balance between necessary infrastructure funding and maintaining an attractive environment for development. This development is a critical topic for stakeholders in the Windsor real estate market, highlighting the ongoing debate between the funding necessary infrastructure and maintaining housing affordability. Because as everyone knows, the more basically shovels on the ground and building creates more opportunities for buyers. People keep thinking that, oh, the house prices are just going to rise, but the more houses we have that are basically fair game are built, there's more options for first time home buyers
Hmm.
because people are going to be moving to nicer neighborhoods, and that will basically make it a more competitive. Like if we have more listings, like right now we have 100 new listings a day, between 60 to 100.
Hmm.
What if we had more than that? Because now there's more selection, and sellers are going to have to reflect that into their price point.
Yep. I think because of this, we're not going to see it now, but in the long term, we might actually see prices tick up higher, not just because of inflation or whatever else, but because of development charges. If you can't build new homes and our population
Mhm.
keeps increasing, we have an influx of people. It's kind of the next logical step. It's the math equation. Prices will be driven up because there'll be more in demand. So I think that's
Of
exactly what
course.
you're trying to say there.
What's the next article?
It's about Amherstburg as well, but I just want to say
It's the
one other
same
thing.
thing. It's
Yeah, it's the
same,
same
same,
thing,
but
but for this,
different.
yeah, but for this, it's. I think this is just to wrap this in the bow a little bit. I think this is a little short-sighted on Windsor's part because if we're trying to get essentially taxes up front for developments, we're almost giving up future taxes from the residents that will be living in these buildings and the buildings that will charge higher taxes like property taxes and whatnot. So if you build a house, let's say, because LaSalle actually reduced their development charges, if you build a house or a building there, then you'll attract more residents, and those residents then will end up paying taxes to the city and and kind of fuel the economic development. So I think maybe it's more like the conservative fiscal approach that I'm talking about here with like deregulating a little bit or reducing costs to build. But I think if you do that, you ignite the economic activity, or you kind of help people start freeing up their funds, and then it trickles back to you you see it almost
We
tenfold.
don't want people sitting on the sideline, like you said.
Exactly.
It's just you want the more. Like, and I was actually talking to a builder just a couple days ago, and he was in one of the in a city in the States, like in Florida there,
Hmm.
and he was talking about the difference in the amount of parking spots required between that city and Windsor. Like they required like point 0.2 parking spots
Really?
per unit,
And we need like
where we
one or two.
required 1.2. So it's like
Yep.
a one car. Yeah, it's the same amount of difference. And he was talking about, okay, well, imagine like, for example, downtown, which is struggling right now.
Yeah.
We can have parking garages. We can have a bunch of different spots, but you go to Toronto, you don't have parking spots.
No.
Why don't, well, you can't just keep pushing out further and further and further into the county.
Hmm.
That's not the like that doesn't logistically that doesn't make any
Yeah, you
sense.
can't just keep
That's
having
not a good.
urban sprawl. Yeah.
We can't. You need infill. So we need to start looking at downtown and going, what can we do? That downtown needs to be scrapped. It needs to be apartment buildings. It needs to be condominiums.
Hmm.
And unfortunately, there maybe not a lot of parking spots. Like for example, if you're building a new condominium and you're requiring them to have 1.2 spots per unit,
Hmm.
it's not feasible downtown. And it's not gonna and you're gonna kill the reason why downtown's not picking up is because you're killing it because you
Yeah.
have these stupid rules in place. It should be a it should be walkable. Downtown is could have a nice it could have nice restaurants. It could have nice shopping. It could have a metro or a grocery store, right?
Yep. And then you have your units above kind of thing. Actually, side note, have you heard of Costco
100%.
kind of proposing that, having
Yeah.
condos on top? It's smart,
Yeah.
honestly, because then you have your clients right there, your buyers.
To be honest with you, if you told me, hey, would you rather live in a brand new condo downtown
Hmm.
or a brand new condo on like Huron Church by like EC Row, I would probably tell you I'd want to live downtown because it's
Yeah.
just, I mean, don't get me wrong, downtown right now has got a lot of issues going on,
If you
but
had to choose between, I'd agree with you though.
we should be having new development downtown. Why would I want to be 30 minutes outside the city? if I want to go to like Walkerville, I want to do something. I can't. I'm far out.
Hmm.
Like we have to we have to do it properly, and that's the one thing that the city's messing up. We don't have like a city's soul is downtown,
Hmm.
and our soul, we don't have one. Like it's Walkerville, but guess what? Walkerville's can only do so much because they kind of already have a little bit of a vision. It's a smaller area. Like downtown's still downtown. Like you're not going to give up. You're not going to have downtown be Walkerville because Walkerville has all these old brownstone projects. That's what kind of it is. It's always been that. Like if you talk about it, that in Toronto, it's probably gonna be more of like an Oakville or like a, one of
Yeah,
those
it's
other
distinctly
more,
different. Yeah.
yeah, like a Yorkville kind of thing. It's not downtown. Like we need to have an actual downtown with basically condo units and then our apartment buildings. That's the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
We need to scrap the parking down there. And because why would people, if you talk to if I talk to my friends in downtown Toronto, they
Hmm.
don't drive.
Yeah.
They can
That's really
walk
true.
everywhere.
Yep.
It should be the same. And if you need to have a car, you can have, there's garages around. You don't really need to be moving around because people that go downtown, they have parking. They're there. There's spots.
That would mean we have
We have
to
enough
increase
spots.
and fix our public
Our
transit
parking, the
because we
cost
don't
to
really have
park
that either.
downtown is like $2. But anyways, let's go back to this Amherstburg one
Yeah,
here,
let's do it.
which by the way, Amherstburg's downtown right now. Whew, beautiful.
I love the Amsterdam downtown. A lot of stuff to do, and
Yeah.
I'll always have the nostalgia for that ice cream shop. I forget what it's called, but there's an ice
Ooh.
cream shop right downtown on the main strip there. But yeah, so a lot of the same here with the same increases in funds. So more building fees. What do
Hmm.
you say about this, Jeremy? I don't know that we need to get too in the nitty gritty, but more so just
No,
to
because
say
this will
that
be the
hey,
same thing.
it's the same thing. So not only
So
Windsor, but Amherstburg is on board. So maybe that means other municipalities around us will do the same. So we're going to be on
yeah,
the lookout to
in
see kind of
December
who
2024, the
chooses.
town of Amherstburg approved a significant increase in development charges, raising fees for new single detached homes by approximately $12,000. This decision was sparked concern among local home builders and developers who fear it could negatively impact the housing affordability and the local construction industry. The town of Amherstburg's council approved the fee increase, so it's been approved.
Mm,
Local home builders, including representatives from the Windsor Essex Home Builders Association, have expressed opposition. The development charges for new single detached homes have increased about $12,000, bringing the total to approximately $24,000 per home. These fees are intended to fund infrastructure and services needed for new developments, similar to the Windsor one we talked about.
yeah.
The fee was increase was approved in December 2024 and is set to take effect early 2025, obviously in
Mhm.
Amherstburg, Ontario. And the city council argues that increased fees are necessary to cover the cost of infrastructure and services required for new developments, ensuring that growth pays for growth. So once again, it's going to have the housing impact on housing affordability because it's going to be passed along to the consumer. The economic concerns is obviously that the apprehension that higher development charges could deter new construction projects, potentially affecting local employment and construction sector, same as Windsor's one. And then basically, um, yeah, I would say we would just use the same information that we had in the Windsor one. It's just an increase, but I mean, $12,000 compared to like what Windsor was going on. There's still high
Yeah,
amounts of fees,
it's
and
still a little bit more
Amherstburg,
manageable. For a single
but the,
family, you're charging, what are they saying, about $35,000 here
mhm,
versus more in like the 75,000.
$76,000.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you can pretty much build almost two and a half houses for the same price. It's crazy to think
that's
about.
the disparity is very interesting there. But
Yeah,
we'll have to see
so
how that
basic.
impacts. Oh, sorry, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say was as a realtor, knowing the Amherstburg new builds right now, they're costly compared to what you'd get in Windsor. I mean, if it was Windsor, it'd be selling a lot quicker because obviously Amherstburg, it's a cute, quaint town, it's a beautiful
Desirable.
city.
A lot more
But
land.
the issue is that for some people, it is because they don't have a major highway to kind of push you into Windsor quicker. People don't necessarily want to go that way.
Hmm,
So housing supply is higher, I would say, in Amherstburg than it is in Windsor. That's my take on that.
gotcha. Yeah, I think you're right there. One day I'd probably move more into the county towards Williamsburg again because that's where I'm from. I have a fondness for that
Oh
area.
yeah.
But
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's we'll have to see how this year shakes up with all these fees and inflation and
Hmm.
how the new builds really pan out, and if the government starts to incentivize things, because maybe at least that could offset some of these building costs with reduced taxes and whatnot. So it's not all
Hmm.
doom and gloom. There's still a chance to build a lot.
Well, the Amherstburg
And
one's gone through, but
yeah,
the city of Windsor one, I think that's just, I think he's just trying to do a scare tactic. It's going to increase, but at least even if he meets in the middle, so it goes,
yeah.
oh,
It's like, oh,
it's,
thank goodness.
oh, it only went up 80%.
Wow,
Jeez,
he's
what a
such a kind,
savings.
yeah, he's such a kind person. I guess I meant though more just the government itself could propose some incentives, not municipal, but more
We don't have a
provincial
government right
from
now, do we? I don't
federal.
know.
No, not for a while. It's prorogued. That's a whole different topic. If we had a political
But that would,
podcast,
I
it
guess
would.
a lot of it would be but then again, I mean, you gotta remember we have a liberal liberal federal government, which they don't do too much in regards to
No,
cities. So a lot of it comes to our conservative Doug Ford there.
we'll have to
Once
see
again,
if he
progressive
chips in
conservative.
anything, or if
He's,
Pierre can abate some taxes as well.
we'll see what happens,
Yeah.
but that's I think that's more we'll see how the provincial government plays into effect on there because obviously they're trying to really push for it. So
Hmm.
what do we have for numbers? I'm excited to see this stuff right
Yeah.
here.
Here we go. Let
This
me
is
zoom in a little bit here for you, because I think we normally like to see this guy, right? There you go.
perfect. That's what I like right to see right there. So the residential market activity comparison, we'll take a look at obviously the 2024 numbers and go by the month, as well as take a look at how it compared to last year. So we had 399 listings for last month, and for obviously December 2024. Compared to December of 2023, we had 307. So we had an increase of just under 30%, which is crazy to think about. 30% of increase in listings. Sales numbers were at 242 for December, and then same thing the year before, 241. So just an offset of one. But if you compare the listings to the sales, obviously 2023 was better
Hmm.
because look how much less listings you have. You have 30% more listings with a not even a percentage, like your 0.4% increase. So that's not good to see on the sale side.
No.
Average sale price, we have gone up, which is great to see, just under 15% to $585,542. And then we always have to use the median stat because that tends to tell you what the average price, like what basically the
4% increase.
going rate of a nice home in Windsor is, and that's around 520,000. 520,000 would get you a beautiful home in South Windsor, LaSalle, maybe not necessarily a raised ranch by any means, but an older 1960s, 70 home in a good neighborhood, a good school district for sure. And once
Hmm.
again, the median sale price is up just over 15% at 15.56 compared to the previous year of 450,000. And then to date, so we're going to end the year of 2024 compared to 2023 at 11,548 listings compared to 10,316, an
Okay.
increase of just shy of 12%.
Good.
Wow.
Good. That's a decent
And then
increase, I'd
sale,
say, right?
it, well, listings is good. I mean, obviously sales is better. And I would
Fair.
say
Fair
we'd want to
point.
focus more on sales. It kind of increases the market, right? Sales was at 5,075 compared to 4,911, an increase of 3.34%. So it's good to see compared to, the previous month of 0.41 going back to December. But the average sale price for the year was $578,108 compared to 556, 380, an increase of 3.91%. Comparing that to the end of the year, December 2024, very, very close. It's basically a difference of what, $7,000. So pretty good to see. And then once again, the median sale price was off by 15,000 for December compared to the end of the year. And so that's going to be at 535,000 compared to 510,000, an increase of 4.9%. So we are seeing house prices going up. Obviously, inflation has something to do with that. Um, our sales are going up as well, which is good to see. And obviously, listings are going up. So for a buyer, I would look at that and see that it's not as much of a competitive market because there is less listings compared to the sales
Hmm.
from the previous year. However, our house prices have been starting to go up. I mean, if we look at The end of 2023, the average price was 556. So in 1 year, we went up about what
20,000.
30, 20, $21,000, which is really good to see. So, I mean, that's probably going to continue this year. We're not, I personally don't think as a realtor, this is where my mind is. I don't think we're ever going to see that because if people are waiting to come back into the market and go, well,
Hmm.
I'm waiting for house prices to go up five, $10,000 a month. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to see this increase of maybe, a few percent. So to go up 20,000 a year, pretty fair. Was that 2,000, just under $2,000 a month? Was it 1,500, $1,700 a month, which isn't anything crazy by any means. So, we're not stagnant, which is good. It shows
Yep.
that there is people willing to pay for housing. And then obviously we're getting more listings. So we're seeing more houses come to the market, which means more opportunities for buyers with less competition in the marketplace.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I love it. I guess so. To wrap this up for the year, or for last year and this year.
Mhm.
Excuse me. What are you thinking personally? Do you think during the springtime? I know you kind of said it's going to be more gradual coming up, but do you think during springtime we're going to see a bit more of an uptick? Do you think people need
I
to start
think,
buying now? Because I know, like you said, people are on the sidelines. People are waiting. People want interest rates to lower.
yeah,
Um,
great question. So here's what I think. There's people talking about all these new mortgage
dollars
rate
a month,
increases because of
which isn't anything
compared
crazy
to
by any means.
2020.
So,
So
for example,
we're not
5 year,
interest
my
rates to
5 year on my
lower.
duplex is coming up
Um,
this year in
great
August.
question.
So
So here's
I'm
what
gonna
I
have to
think.
renew
There's
that.
people talking about all
But if
these
we compare
new mortgage rate
rates
increases
from
because of
which isn't anything
to
crazy
compared to
by any
today's
means.
20.
So,
So for example,
we're not,
5 year
my
rates to
5 year on
lower.
my
pretty fair
duplex is coming
market.
up
Um,
this year in
Great
August.
question.
So
So here's
I'm
what
gonna
I
have to
think.
renew
There's
that.
people talking about all
But if
these
we compare
new mortgage
rates
rates
increases
from
because
which
of
isn't anything
compared
crazy
to
by any means.
2020. So,
2010.
for example,
We're not even
my
interest
5 year on my
pretty fair
duplex is
market.
coming up this year in
Great
August.
question.
So
Here's
I'm
what
gonna
I
have to
think.
renew
There's
that.
people talking about all
But if
these
we compare
new mortgage rates
increases
from
because
which
of
isn't anything
compared
crazy
to
by any means.
2020.
2010. Got my mortgage. It was 2.9% on a fixed rate. So even if my fixed rate right now is, let's say, 4.5% or something like that, maybe 4.9, under 5% still. Um, it's going to go up a lot, but unless I'm refinancing out, I'm probably not going to notice that much of a difference. It might be a few $100s more. So for anyone everyone's like, oh, well, the market's going to, you're going to have all these new people coming up for renewals, but the mortgage rates back in 2022 are only like a point and a half, maybe more than they are today. I don't think fixed rates are going to change. I don't think they're going to go down. Maybe variable rates are going to be better
right.
again. However, in that sense, being like anyone that really bought in 2020, and if they did any refinancing out, then that's on them. But for the most part, house prices really didn't start to skyrocket until like middle of 2021. And then obviously we peaked around March of 2022. So those people in the next 2026, 2027 are going to have to really, but then again, I mean, most of those people are getting variable rates at like low 1%. So they're already feeling it. So it's not going to be too much of a changeover. We might see some more foreclosures coming up into the marketplace, but
Hmm.
realistically, I think that people have been buying there's this house prices have been going up. So I could continue to see it going up. Maybe another, let's just call it 3 to 4%, maybe 5% max a year. Um, Other than that, I think that it's going to be another year of probably
Slow
uh
growth, bit of recovery.
yeah, I would say so. It's going to be a mixed market. There's going to be some properties that are just beautiful, and obviously those ones are going to be a seller's market, and then obviously at some points we might be a buyer's market. So going into spring, we might see more of a seller's market, and then it slows down a little bit. And then obviously might be more of a seller's market again, maybe towards middle of summertime. So it all kind of comes and goes because everyone tends to wait the spring. So when you get flooded
It just
on the market with listings, then it's gonna be more of like a buyer's time to buy. So
yep.
we're gonna kind of fluctuate between buyers and sellers. So it's gonna be more of a mixed market, pretty medium state wise. But I can see house prices going up a bit more.
Beautiful. I think with that, guys, if you have any other questions, Reach out to Jeremy,
Mhm.
especially for market updates and stats. If you just want to talk real estate in
Yep.
general, we're always here, especially when it comes in terms to investment properties, local Windsor area where your boots on the ground. Thank you all that also tune into the future. But remember, like, comment, subscribe on YouTube now, and then join the Facebook group. Jeremy, do you have any parting words before you sign off for today?
We'll see you again next week.
Next week it is. Yeah, we're like you said, we're gonna keep having these lives, and we're gonna keep it rolling. All right.
Absolutely. How about yourself, Tom?
I'm just looking forward to 2025, having more of these, having more people on the show, and getting some more deals done, and also
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
growing from all the mistakes and making some wins in the future here.
And if you know of anyone that's listening that should be on the podcast, or maybe is a local
Great
Windsor
point.
investor, even an investor from out of town that invests heavily in the Windsor area, we would love to meet up with them, learn who they are, learn their story, learn
Hmm.
how they invest. There are so many different ways, and I know so many different people that are doing different things in the Windsor market, and we want to know what they're doing. We want to know what they have planned for. How do they adapt in this changing market? So if you have any recommendations, please let us know. Message either myself or Tom McCormick. And once again, we will see you next week.
Next week. All right. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Good. That was quick. I like it.
That was beautiful. That was